to be able to triumph and have your own life with the man of your dreams. So there are many people out there that keep wasting opportunities. It's not that God does not give opportunities. God is in the business of giving opportunities, but people are also in the business of wasting opportunities. There are a lot of you waste words. You do not know how to talk. Your mouth has brought more hindrance to you in your life. In fact, probably if you knew how to talk, you will not be where you are today. Most of the glorious things that ought to come to your life was taken away by your mouth. So for you, it is your mouth. You waste words and you say the things you ought not to say. And it has become an hindrance. People hear you out the first time and they look at it and say, Okponu means you're a fool. And when they say that, they look and say, I can never have anything to do with such persons. A lot of you do not understand that opportunities will come to you in life. But the problem is, do you waste them or do you take them? Some waste those opportunities by the words of their mouths. Some people are just cantankerous. Some of you can never be married until you change your character. You are just cantankerous. You are the quickest to block. You are the quickest to show bad attitude. Some of you are so spoiled that the truth has to be said. For you, it's your way or no way. If things don't go your way, then forget it. You throw a tantrum, you fight everybody, you try as much as possible to destroy everybody because things do not go your way. And when you live your life that way, you have problems. Because nobody wants a liability. And in no time, you become a liability. And when you become a liability, your life cannot accelerate the way it ought to accelerate. Some of you, it's your approach to things that is the waste. You cannot wake up in the morning to execute something. You keep shouting and deceiving yourself. I'm not a morning person. I'm not a morning person. But people will provide opportunities for you. Just for you to show up, it becomes a problem. Listen, we are not all morning people. But we know if we do not set forth at dawn, our life will not be good. So we rise. And the truth is, nobody enjoys the morning. If we all had the luxury, we will sleep all through the way. But as long as you sleep, poverty will come. The Bible says, a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hand to sleep, so shall your poverty come. So it's because we understand that when we waste time, poverty will come. That's why we wake up in the morning to do the things we do. This morning, I have gone out. I have played tennis for 2 hours before I came. It's a Sunday morning, but I know if I waste time or not giving my body the exercise it needs, then I will never grow. So I played 2 hours of tennis. Down from the tennis court to the show this morning. Because if I waste every day without giving me my body the exercise it needs, in the future, when I get older, my body will say, oh, because you didn't give me the exercise I needed then, you need to be able to do something for me now. And life is a choice. So the habit of constant wastage is the road to total destruction. Write that down. The habit of constant wastage is the road to total destruction. When you waste constantly, you lead yourself on a road to total destruction. Why is Nigeria where it is today? Because of the habit of wastage. Since 1960, we have leaders that have constantly wasted. How do our resources get wasted? They get wasted in corruption. In 1960, we earned a lot of goodwill after gaining independence. Everything we earned we lost. Many nations were willing to give us loans because they saw us as a new beautiful bride of the world. They believe that if Nigeria prospers, Africa can prosper. And a lot of people still believe in that capacity. Recently, I was in Kenya talking to other African leaders, talking to their members of parliament. And the conversation is still, why is Nigeria lacking behind? We look forward to Nigeria. But as a nation, what did we do? We took the possibilities and we wasted it. We squandered it. Remember what the Bible says? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the house of sleep. So shall your poverty come. We saw so much resource, then we started wasting it with the political class and corruption. We made corruption the order of the day. We wasted so much. After we discovered oil in Oloibiri in 56, we kept on wasting the little resource we had. And we continued to waste. In the 70s, when the Yom Kippur War happened in 73, the crude oil prices went from $3 per barrel to about over $10 per barrel. What happened? We continued to waste. In fact, our leader there, Yakubu Gowon, said the problem is not money but how to spend it. And indeed, most leaders said, let's eat the money. Let's waste it. Because if you chop my own, I chop your own, then it can be a whole lot better. Then we started the game of deceit and they started the game of waste. So we kept on wasting the little resource God gave us. In fact, as of 1977, we wasted so much that we had imported the most amount of cement in the world to any ports. And this is called the cement armada. The fallout of that is that we settled cases way up to the 80s. Do you know, as Nigeria as a nation was suffering, some other people were getting rich at the expense of Nigeria. Some Nigerian importers got rich from the cement armada because they were the ones that connived also to take Nigeria to court because Nigeria defaulted. So they saw the waste and they continued the waste. The same people that helped waste the resources of Nigeria and the way they have destroyed the country are the ones that came the next time in the 80s and said, oh, the country is not good. And they continued with that. In the 80s again, the waste had become so much. At first, we blamed Ghanaians for our problem. We said Ghana must go. But the truth is, it wasn't about the Ghanaians. Our problem had become so much. Shagari was toppled. Buhari came in. Then we had very strict measures. Then the waste continued after Buhari was toppled. And the waste continued up to the early 80s, the late 80s, beg your pardon, when we floated our currency. And it never remained the same. So the kingdom of Nigeria has totally suffered waste. Waste in every dimension. Look at the proportion of the money we earned from crude oil compared to the development we have. You will say that it's been waste. In fact, despite the development that was done in the 70s in this country, how most parts of Lagos were built, how Third Mainland was conceptualized and all these things, it is not proportionate to the kind of money we have earned. Most of the money has gone to private hands because of the waste. And the truth has to be said. The waste is what kills us. If we do not stop the waste will constantly kill us. Because as we return to democracy, we have constantly wasted. The first way to stop the waste is accountability. And that's why I have been asking for over a week. The president cannot tell me they bought a private jet without telling us the price of it so that we will know. Accountability is key. You cannot buy a private jet in the name of the people with the resource of the state and tell me that the money should not be told to the people. The only time you can say that is if you probably bought the private jet with your money. That's the first level of accountability. The second way to cut the waste is to check the budgets. National waste. Truth has to be said. Listen, go and check budgets. They did a research work recently and they discovered that the line item in Nigeria's budget for Ministry of Department of Aerospace, they were doing pregnancy awareness campaign for 80 million naira. What has Department of Aerospace got to do with pregnancy awareness? Another way that we waste is not that the money is not enough to be able to fix project. One of the biggest corruption scams in this world is budget padding. What they write in the budgets. You see, the over 20 or 30 trillion they itemize every year, every government will really issue out contracts on a yearly basis. Those contracts are to make the lives of the people better. There's something called cost-benefit analysis of every contract. What is the cost doing to the development of the people? That's the biggest question. So if every government issues out a contract, then what is the development, what is the benefit of that contract to the development of the people? But in most cases, you will see that most of the contracts that are now done are not in benefit to the people. How can an aerospace agency be doing a contract on pregnancy? Somebody will have thought that an aerospace agency would think about contracts around aerospace research, around competitions for secondary schools to bolster aerospace research, about software hackathons to build software for aerospace development in the country. But when you see that level of wastage through the budget, then you know what's going on. And you know how they do this easily? Because they know that Nigerians will not have the scrutiny to be able to review the budget line by line. Except some people like budgets, govspend.ng are the ones now taking the effort to review the budget line by line. And that's when they are seeing all of this wastage coming out. So the truth has to be said. The next thing we can do to shun this wastage is to be part of the budget process. Everybody should be part of the budget process, because the wastage of few people will affect the collective wastage of us as a people and as a nation. And if we do not rise up, time will pass us by. Just imagine, every manipulated contract in the budget could have been used to do something for the betterment of the people. So when you look at it, then you need to be able to tackle wastage. Another way to tackle wastage is an electoral process. If you do not vote in the right people you can hold accountable, then you don't have a reason to complain that the electoral process has gone bad. A lot of people will argue, will find our votes do not count, but come out and vote. Come out and vote. And they manipulate the process. Another way to be able to tackle wastage in our country is to be able to build stronger institutions. We must come out and collectively stand for our institutions. Because if our institutions do not work, then our lives will not work. Just imagine if our institutions of state, like the police, like INEC, another institution of state, is corrupted, then definitely you can't have a country that can be built on integrity, because it's going to be a quagmire. So wastage pervades the air because institutions do not work. And when institutions do not work, when life becomes unbearable and people are overtaxed, then we don't see what their taxpayers' money is being used for, then life will become unbearable. Today now they are collecting electronic money transfer taxes from almost every transaction you have. Any money gets in your account, government collects a certain amount. Well and good. The question is, the money, what is it being used to do in the budget? They will say projects. Projects like what? Is it aerospace ministry that is now doing projects like pregnancy awareness? So those are the questions we should ask ourselves. In your own personal life, how do you tackle wastage? The very first way to tackle wastage is you need to watch your spending. You need to watch your spending. How do you spend? How do you spend money? How do you manage resource? What do you do with the money you have? Like before, I was talking about Ashwebi. A lot of you, if you calculate what you are spending on Ashwebi in a year, you will see that that money will buy you land and be able to start up a little project that will help humanity. Secondly, all your earnings must not be spent on what you will have today. You will deny yourself to be able to advance to the future. For you, it might be Louis Vuitton bags. It might be Louis Vuitton shoes. You must always splurge. Anyway, most people cannot splurge any longer because dollar to pounds now, or pounds to naira is no joke any longer. But for you, you want to always splurge. You always want to have the matching bag and matching shoes. You forget that life will pass you by. Life is not about matching bag and matching shoes. You will not be remembered for the number of Louis Vuitton bags you have. You will be remembered for the impact you made in the lives of humanity. I tell people, rather than give that priority, why don't you give people priority? Enhance a life, lift up a life. Somebody say, hey, Rufai, I lift up lives. It's just my guilty pleasure. Yes, it's your guilty pleasure. All well and good for you. But the truth is, if your guilty pleasure is stressing your financial condition, then you should look at that guilty pleasure. Else, you become a life wasted. Another way is you need to understand wisdom. You need to understand the times. You need to understand what you represent. And you need to read the room. A lot of people nowadays they don't know how to read the room. They are oblivious of the happenings around them. They are oblivious of what is going on around. They keep saying, I don't care. I don't care. You don't care. But at some point you need to care what's going on. Because you do not live in isolation. You live in an environment, you live in a society, and you must read the room. There are some things you shouldn't be doing at a time where there's massive poverty and inequality in the country. You should have the capacity enough to be able to think dearly. I will not say more than this, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying. You are living in a rented apartment. You are buying a car worth 60 million naira. Are you smart? Don't buy a car worth 60 million naira if you are living in a rented apartment, if you don't have an apartment of your own. If you have apartments of your own that you two are renting out and you're living in a rented apartment, it's all well and good. But don't buy excessive luxury when you have not put something down for the future. That's just it. Sometimes, can you really do without those luxurious items? Can you really do without those wastage? Can you really do without those societal, show off? Can you really do it? The Yorubas have a saying, what it means is that when your yam starts to sprout, you need to cover it. Be careful. Avoid wastage. Avoid wastage. Avoid wastage. Some of you, the greatest problem in your life is the fact that you have wasted your tomorrow today. And when you've wasted your tomorrow,